welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. And I'm so glad to see all of you here. It's a wonderful collection of new faces and some familiar faces. So welcome, welcome. I'm Kristine Hurst-Wajszczuk, and I'm so glad that Dr. Robin Lanzi has agreed / encouraged me to continue this through the summer. There are so many activities through the Mental Health Ambassadors that are available to you even though classes are over, and it just seems good and right considering these times. So I thought it might not be a bad idea for us to revisit the idea of mindfulness meditation. Some people get nervous about meditation because they think they can't stop thinking and that therefore they won't be any good at it. And I'm here to reassure you that stopping thinking is not the goal at all. In fact, you will just become aware of it in a different way. So with that reassurance, I hope you can enter this meditation with a sense of gratitude and not a sense of worry that you're going to have to stop thinking. So let's reframe thoughts actually with a metaphor. If thoughts are like a river, and sometimes they are a rushing river with class 5 rapids, then we often swim around in that river and kind of get lost in our own thoughts or get swept up in our thoughts, as it were. In the case of meditation, what we're trying to do is gain a little bit of distance from those thoughts. And so in some ways, we're just trying to sit on the bank and watch the river go by rather than be in it. Some of us might even believe that we are our thoughts, and that is not the case. So again, we're not going to stop thinking. We're going to sit on the bank. And you may be asking yourself, well, how do I sit on the bank? And the answer to that is grab a rope and pull yourself up onto the bank. And you may now be asking, well, what's the rope? The rope in this case is what we call an anchor for our attention. And your anchor in this case may be simply the sensations of your breath. It may be words such as inhale and exhale each time you breathe in and breathe out. It may be a phrase along the lines of, I am breathing. It may actually be an image. It may be an image of you scrambling up onto the bank. Whatever works for you. And what works for you may change from day to day. So I invite you to experiment with what seems most effective in this moment. So once you get used to pulling yourself out of the river of your thoughts and sitting on the bank, we are going to label the thoughts that arise. And as you notice each thought coming to your attention, you will attach the gentlest of labels to that thought. For example, worrying, planning, scheduling, remembering. And I do encourage you to be very gentle with yourself if you notice the same kind of thought coming up. You know, these are very trying times. So you might find yourself with worrying thoughts coming up over and over again. And I just encourage you to be very gentle with yourself if that happens, and to not judge it, to just label the thought and let it go. And the last thing I would encourage you to do is not to spend a whole lot of time or effort finding just the right label for each thought. If you find yourself getting caught up in, oh, what kind of thought is this, and trying to find the right word, don't worry about it. Just call it thinking, label the thought, and be done with it. So with that, let's start our meditation, and I will hold my bell close to my headset so that hopefully you can hear it. And I invite you to settle in to whatever position works for you for meditation. It might be with your legs crossed. It might be simply sitting in a chair. If you are sitting, I do invite you to have You're also welcome to lie down on the floor, on your back, with your knees bent. And if you are comfortable with it, allow your eyes to gently close. Or if you would rather, simply allow your gaze to come downward and slightly unfocus, like a soft gaze. And take a deep breath. And one more. And one last deep cleansing breath. And allow your attention to settle on your breath, wherever you feel it most. At the nostrils, in the movement of the chest, the movement of the belly, wherever it is clearest for you in this moment. And if it has not already happened, you will notice thoughts arising. And I invite you to not resist these thoughts. Simply observe them. Rather like a loving parent observes a small child. Observe the thought with kindness and simply return your attention to the breath. You can return your attention to the breath by refocusing on the sensations of breathing, or by thinking the words inhale, exhale, or by imagining that you are climbing out of the river of your thoughts and sitting on the bank, just to watch them go by. And if you would like an additional image in that regard, you could imagine leaves on top of the river being your thoughts. And as you settle into this practice, each time a thought arises, now you will attach a gentle label to it, very gently, very kindly. Every thought is equally loved. And then release that thought. If the thought is worrying, attach that label and release it, returning your attention to the breath. If that thought is remembering, attach that label very gently and release it. If that thought is judging or planning or anything at all, attach a very kind, gentle label to it. Release that thought and return to your breath over and over again. If choosing the correct label becomes too difficult, simply label each thought as thinking. Release it just as kindly as you've released every other thought, and return to the sensations of your breath or your anchor of choice. Where are your thoughts now? Be very kind to yourself. If you discover that you were thinking and didn't realize it, this happens to all of us. Simply return to the task at hand and sit on the bank again. Now return your full attention to the breath, perhaps taking one very deep breath and experiencing it as fully as possible from beginning to end. And taking one more deep breath, noticing the precise moment when inhalation becomes exhalation. And one last deep cleansing breath. And in a moment when you hear the bell, resolve to bring this kind of gentle attention to all of your activities. And when you're ready, easily, gently open your eyes. Have a stretch if you need.